Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donohue and Sonia Mansfield, talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donohue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the podcast that talks about creeps from the past to the present. Today, we're talking about someone who is no longer with us. Thank God. But the stuff he did is stuff that we're still dealing with, till this day.
Yeah. True dat.
So if you're new to the show, just understand that we do talk about a creep and we really get into depth, but at the end, we always end with somebody who is not a creep. So it leaves you feeling a little bit more hopeful about the world, which is something we could all use a little bit right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are on Facebook We're on Facebook, but we have a basic Facebook page. We just post the episodes there. We don't really check it. It's where people go to complain about our language. This is your warning. We use salty language in this program.
Yeah, fuck, shit, damn.
We're very interactive in our private Facebook group. So you go to Facebook, you type in What a Creep podcast group and ask to join. You have to answer a few questions, do your best. Just promise not to be a creep and then come and hang out with us. It's a nice, safe space to hang out.
It's the best thing on Facebook.
We're no longer on Twitter, but we are on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky at What a Creep Podcast. And then we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Those are great places to send us your suggestions for creeps and or non-creeps, because we always are looking for suggestions. But also, if you'd like to get some stickers, email us your address and we will drop them in the mail for you wherever you are on the planet Earth. And Sonia, when we talked about Hans Christian Andersen a couple of weeks ago, I asked for somebody from Denmark to ask for stickers, and someone did.
Yes! Success! We are worldwide.
I felt so vindicated.
Nice. That's awesome.
So you want to tell them about the website?
Yeah, go to whatacreeppodcast.com. It's everything you want to know about the podcast, but we're afraid to ask. But you shouldn't be afraid to ask. You can click on all of our past episodes and it opens up and you could see our show notes because we source everything we do. We're not making this stuff up. We want to give people credit for the work they do. So if you're looking for a deeper dive on our creeps, fabulous place to start is in the show notes. So do that. There's also a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and face masks as long as you're still allowed to wear them and all kinds of cool things. So please do that. I'll be pondering some new designs for 2025 because, I've got some things to say. So there's also a link to our Patreon. You want to tell them about that, Margot?
Yes, Patreon. We have a couple of very affordable options there. We thank everybody that contributes because we use that money for the costs of the show, basically. And for the costs, I mean, for all those subscriptions to the news sources, because like Sonia said, we source everything we do, plus for the cost of just putting the show together. So I want to thank people like Rachel, Heather, Sam, Steph, Lisa, and Beth, all have recently joined our Patreon page. Thank you all so much. What we do there, we offer our first 9 Caesars are on the Patreon wall exclusively, and then we put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and those bonus episodes are available on video if you want to see our pusses talking about shit.
Our pusses. That'll never not make me laugh.
My mom always said that.
When talking about face.
My mom was always like, if you were grumpy, my mom would be like, "What's with the puss?"
Let's bring it back. You're doing it.
I'm doing it. Back. We're doing all kinds of things. It's going to be a new quarter century, Sonia. We're just going to do it.
Why not?
I think that's everything, is it?
I think so.
Oh, reviews. We could use some reviews, you guys.
Oh, yes.
So you have been joining us on Spotify. Thank you so much for leaving your thoughts there. I really appreciate it. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, if you can leave us a review, that would be amazing. But wherever you get your podcasts, please be sure to subscribe. That way we'll never miss an episode. Sonia.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about today?
All right. Let's talk about Ken Starr, also known as Kenneth Starr. You might, either one of those names. Sources first, Jezebel, The Guardian, Huffington Post, Investopedia, because I was trying to try to understand whitewater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. You'll explain it
Okay.
to me.
Yeah. The New York Times, NPR, PBS, Politico, Rolling Stone, and of course, always our friends at Wikipedia, our good friends at Wikipedia. So Ken Starr, the independent prosecutor who basically wasted millions of taxpayer dollars to investigate Bill Clinton, including Whitewater, the suicide of Vince Foster, and his affair with Monica Lewinsky. He's also been on the wrong side of history when it comes to gay marriage, religious freedom, and sexual abuse. Whee! What a trifecta he's got going there.
Indeed.
So over the course of his career, he argued 36 times before the Supreme Court. He was also a mentor and a boss to Chief Justice Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh. Thanks a lot, asshole.
Thanks for nothing.
Yeah, so let's start at the beginning. Born July 21st, 1946 in Vernon, Texas. His father was Willie D. Starr. He sounds like an R&B artist, right? Like, I bought the new single by Willie D. Starr.
The star was his D? Hey-o.
His father was a barber and sometimes minister. Sure. Okay. Yeah, get your hair cut and
Perform a wedding.
perform a wedding. Why not? Or, get your sins absolved and get a little trim.
Just work the wedding circuit and make a fortune.
That's true. Good for him, man. His mother's name was Vannie. I've never heard this name before, but sure, why not? And she was stay-at-home mom, homemaker. They moved to San Antonio. He was voted most likely to succeed in his high school. I'm like, most likely to succeed at being a creep. Am I right, people? Am I right? You burn, Ken Starr. You burn. He sold Bibles door to door to pay for college. Okay. That was a thing that people used to do. He went to Harding College in Arkansas. He eventually transferred to George Washington University, got a master's degree in political science, and then he has a law degree from Duke. Like he's
educated.
He's educated. He's an asshole, but he's not a dummy. Mm-hmm. He married Alice Jean Mendel in 1970. That's like 1 week before he started law school. They had 3 children, 9 grandchildren. Uneventful. We'll hear from her again at the end. But after law school, he worked as a law clerk for a while for Chief Justice Warren E. Burger. That's a real name. And he went to work as chief of staff for the Attorney General William Smith when he was in the Reagan administration. This guy has all kinds of like conservative bona fides. Like he is very entrenched in the conservative movement. He worked for all these conservative leaders and justices and things like that. Eventually, Reagan appointed him to the United States Court of Appeals for the district circuit. But then he stepped down from that eventually to work as a solicitor general. I reversed those. I apologize. Solicitor general for George H.W. Bush.
Heard of him?
And that role, yes, heard of him. He's someone. This position is often referred to as like the 10th Supreme Court justice. So it is a pretty powerful position in the Supreme Court. But then when George H.W. lost his reelection to Bill Clinton, Starr just went to Congress, got other jobs doing like independent counsel work. Mm-hmm. So like at the time there was like a senator of Oregon, Bob Packwood. Do you remember Bob Packwood?
Packwood, yes, I know the name.
Yes. Yeah, so he actually eventually ended up resigning from Congress because he had sexually abused like 19 women.
Oh my God.
And he had like he's such an asshole and a stupid one. He kept a fucking diary. Dude kept a diary of his sexual abuse. Anyway, like Ken Starr was appointed to like evaluate those diaries and like figure out like what the step was going to be. And eventually they did. Like he, resigned from Congress. And I think this is really interesting because at the time, the chairman of the ethics committee was someone named Senator Mitch McConnell.
Ooh.
Whatever happened to that prick? Spoke out against Bob Packwood, who, by the way, was a Republican. and said like his habitual pattern of aggressive, blatantly sexual advances, mostly directed at members of his own staff or others whose livelihoods were connected to his power and authority. Like, he recommended that he be expelled. And he said that he realized that this maybe would put that seat in jeopardy, but it was about retaining their honor, the Senate's honor.
Wow. And look at the ne'er-do-wells that are
Yes.
in play now for cabinet positions. It's, oh my God.
Mitch McConnell don't give a fuck about honor anymore, but
Right.
fascinating that there was a time when he supposedly did.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I would point it out. So Ken Starr got put in charge of what was then known as the Whitewater investigation. And this was basically an investigation into real estate investments that Bill and Hillary Clinton had done back before he was president with some associates named Jim and Susan McDougal. They were going to sell vacation homes in Arkansas because I guess people in Arkansas need to vacation too.
No, but it's also beautiful. They have the mountains there, the Blue Ridge Mountains and all that.
Yeah.
I have friends that live there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So he was appointed to this, but what a lot of people don't remember is there was actually someone before him, and this man's name was Robert B. Fisk, and he already investigated this. He investigated Whitewater, and he found that like nothing. He cleared the Clintons of any wrongdoing. He Clinton's like deputy counsel, Vince Foster, like died by suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And all these like right-wing people were like, it's a
cover up.
It's a conspiracy. Yeah, it's a cover up. It's a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. And Fisk investigated that too. And he's like, no, like it really is a suicide. He totally was like, he was an independent counsel and he found nothing. But the right super fucking hated that. That's not the answer they wanted.
Right.
So this like panel of 3 judges who were like all like really, really conservative took it upon themselves to replace Fisk with Starr, who, as we've established, was like very much embedded in like conservative culture. The Whitewater investigation is super confusing. So here's like high level how it works. So Bill and Hillary Clinton wanted to buy this like land that was like 230 acres of land, and they were going to build and sell vacation homes in Arkansas.
I'm sorry. I think it's the Ozarks, not the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm thinking of in Arkansas. There's a gorgeous mountain range. Sorry.
Okay.
I was just in my head. I was like,
no, it's okay.
Anyway, I could be screwing that up, but there is gorgeous regions of Arkansas.
Of course. So they partnered with this other couple, James and Susan McDougal. They make this deal. All these federal regulators, investigated all of this. And there was just like, they were cleared of any wrongdoing. There was like, but James and Susan McDougal actually had committed crimes, but the Clintons had not. And that's where this all came to. But Ken Starr's investigation started with Whitewater, and then he then went to like Deputy White House Counsel Vince Foster, and he was trying to find stuff there. And again, he didn't find anything there. And then he learned about this sexual harassment lawsuit that was filed by Paula Jones against Bill Clinton when he was a governor. This is the thing that he was like, ooh, we could get him for this. So at one point, Starr actually argued that U.S. sitting presidents are not immune to civil lawsuits. He, argued this all the way to the Supreme Court, and they unanimously agreed with him. It's almost like presidents aren't above the law, is what they said back then.
Well, isn't that cute?
Isn't that cute? Funny how that only applies to Democrats, but whatever. So, because now Trump, if you don't know, is immune. The dude's just walking around like all of his lawsuits are getting thrown out because we don't go after presidents even when they're not president yet or anymore. So cool. So he successfully argued that. And he wanted the sexual harassment case to go forward. And so he starts interviewing Clinton about his sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky, which then Clinton denies for obvious reasons, because he doesn't want everyone to know, and he's a married man.
Right.
And
it's wrong.
And it's wrong, by the way. It's super wrong.
On top of everything, it's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
And we had a Bill Clinton episode.
Yes, we did a Bill Clinton episode. Like, dude's super guilty, by the way, of like
harassment.
Of harassment, and he's super guilty of like harassing Monica Lewinsky too. Like there was a power
differential.
Here that we weren't being kind to her back in the day. And I think we've talked about her in the Bill Clinton episode about like she got a raw fucking deal, and like everyone treated her like shit, and she didn't deserve that. But so Clinton testifies under oath that he did not have sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. Very famous quote. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. And then she provides like a dress that's got gum stains on it, basically semen stains. That means that Clinton has now committed perjury. All of this leads to the impeachment of President Clinton. But he was acquitted because people were like, this isn't enough to like kick a president out of his office. So 4 years of investigations all comes down to he lied under oath. He got Bill Clinton's law license suspended for 5 years. That's
okay.
Millions of taxpayer dollars, dragged Monica Lewinsky through it. Like for shit that like it just didn't fucking matter. Bill Clinton's super guilty, by the way. Then Kenneth Starr writes his like Starr report. And by the way, written in part by Brett Kavanaugh, by the way. He was working for Ken Starr at the time. He was part of putting that report together and leaking things to the media, because they kept this shit in the conversation for years after it was over. But they released the Starr report, and if you haven't read the Starr report, actually, they should just re-release it as an audiobook read by someone really sexy, because it's pretty dirty. It's a pretty dirty thing. It's very, very explicit in some parts of, if you've read parts of it, at least. I'm sure you have, Margot. Because Margot loves smut. No,
I do love smut, but I don't. I remember it was a big deal.
It was a super big deal.
Big deal. But then I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, it was just, things about like
the cigar.
Yeah, the stuff with the cigar, and like her showing her thong to him, and like it was very, very naughty. And they naughty, quote unquote, and so they released it years later. Like, in his defense, Ken Starr would say that he regretted being a part of that investigation. He didn't regret the investigation. He regretted him being a part of it, because it turns out he was investigating the president for lying about an affair while he himself was having an affair.
What?
So, what? That was a real choice. So Judy Hirschman, who used to work with Ken Starr at the time, claims that her and Starr had an affair while they were running this investigation. She said it was consensual, like it wasn't sexual abuse, but they were having an affair. She also has a story about how Brett Kavanaugh was working on this case too with them, and he was super shitty to her. Called an incident in which furious Kavanaugh began badgering her, invading her space, pointing his finger in her face, yelling at her, all of this stuff while they were like debating something in the case. And then she went to Ken Starr and was like, he's fucking out of his mind. Like, look what he's doing. And Ken Starr's like, he's just protecting me. I'm apologizing to you for him, and this is it. Like, he knew back then that Brett Kavanaugh is a piece of shit.
We know that Brett Kavanaugh is a huge piece of shit. And there's a very famous clip of his wife standing next to him, Trump 45, and talking to the press. And he just glares at her for a second, and her face just completely shuts down. And it's really creepy. And
I don't know how anyone...
Big anger issues.
Yes. He's a piece of shit. Yes, he's on our list. But we have to wait a little while because he's still committing shit we want to talk about. So the list never ends. So after he did all of that, actually, these aren't really in any order of date. So
That's fine.
I'm just, okay. He did work for President Trump for a while. Ken Starr did. He joined Trump's legal team during the first impeachment because there's so many. We can't keep track. There were 2 articles of impeachment, if y'all remember. I know it's hard to remember, but in 2020, there was an impeachment against Trump for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. This was during when he made his quote unquote perfect call to the Ukraine. And he was trying to blackmail them, basically trying to we'll give you funds if you give us dirt on Joe Biden. It's what the fuck is wrong with us? But so Ken Starr, the man who just went after Clinton saying, quote, and this is the quote, "There's no excuse for perjury. Never, never, never. There is truth, and the truth demands respect." Then signs up to defend Donald Trump in his first impeachment and says that, this isn't worth it. This is really bad for the country. It's bad for the country to impeach Donald Trump for doing all the things that are much worse, by the way, than what Clinton was being accused of doing. It's, bitch, please be serious. Trump was not impeached that time. So good job, Ken Starr. He wasn't impeached the second time, but he's going to be in the White House soon. So maybe the third time will be the charm. Let's all cross our fingers.
I seriously doubt it, but
I know. He also defended Jeffrey Epstein. We have so many episodes that you could go back and listen to. Go back and listen to Jeffrey Epstein.
Famously, we dropped our episode on him the morning he was found dead in his jail.
Yes.
And so we had to re-record right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
times. On our Patreon wall. Yeah. That's season 1 stuff. Yeah.
So again, if you listen to that episode, or you probably know if you're already listening to our show, Jeffrey Epstein was accused of numerous accounts of statutory rape of underaged
of children.
Children. Yes. And he eventually pleaded guilty, but Ken Starr actually is the one who worked with the Justice Department to get the sex trafficking part of the case dismissed. He got it is infamous. They refer to it as a sweetheart deal.
Yeah.
Basically he got 18 months in prison and immunity from any future prosecution. So he got the cushiest deal he could have got.
He also was allowed to go to his office and work every day. It was fucking ridiculous, y'all.
It was ridiculous.
It's really obscene the way they handled that case. Yeah.
Yep. Well, and thanks, Ken Starr. After he got his cushy deal for his sexual predator client, Ken Starr got a job as the president and chancellor of Baylor University in Waco, Texas. This was in June 2010. And he also taught there taught law classes as well. It should be a surprise to no one that while Ken Starr was running that school, they totally mishandled several sexual assaults that happened at the school. It's almost like hiring someone who worked for Jeffrey Epstein was maybe
a problem, a mistake.
Yeah. The college itself, the university, had been accused of failing to respond to reports of rape and sexual assault filed by at least 6 female students from 2009 to 2016. One of the victims actually emailed Ken Starr himself. And he said under oath, honestly, I may have seen it. I'm not denying that I saw it. But he didn't do anything about it.
Okay, I'm you can't see my face, y'all. It's the rage I'm feeling inside is just, ugh.
These men are fucking terrible, and they just continue to fail upward. It involved football players. So most of these cases involve football players. One of them was named Tevin Elliott, and he was actually convicted of rape in January 2014, and he is serving 20 years. And I will just say that he sexually assaulted a few people. And
it was horrific.
When they spoke up, it was horrific. The details are real nasty, y'all. They reported it. to the school, to the police, nothing done. They just totally quashed it. They did it to another student named Sam Awachu, who was another one that they actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Recruited. There you go. Recruited from another school where he had also like been accused of sexual abuse at that school, pretended it didn't happen, brought him to this school where it happened again. Like the women at the school were not safe. They did not care. Eventually, the university hired a law firm to like do an independent investigation. I wonder what Ken Starr thought about being on the other side of that. And they said, what a surprise. They created a perception that football was above the rules, which is super fucking common.
It's Texas, you know? Yeah.
Yep. So eventually 2 football staff members were fired for this. And then Ken Starr was like, he resigned. They never fired him. He got to resign, which I'm sure came with a nice
package
heyday. Yep, exactly. After he left, 3 more women came forward, and all of them filed a lawsuit against the university, and they won. So these women did get some sort of justice, but they didn't get shit when he was there. And here's a list of some other random shitty things he did. Because again, this dude's on the wrong side of history always. He represented Blackwater, which if y'all don't know what Blackwater is, it's a mercenary company that was hired by the Bush administration during the Iraq War. 4 contractors for Blackwater were killed, and the families filed a wrongful death lawsuit. And he defended the corporation.
Sure he did.
Of course he did. He argued, again, that this private military security company, they're immune. They're immune from state court litigation. Everyone's always immune. Why is everyone immune from the law? I don't know, but he argued they were immune. He didn't win, by the way. The families, they won. He was also on the legal defense team for Proposition 8 here in California. If you don't know what Prop 8 was, it was about like banning same-sex marriage. And it also wanted to like retroactively impact 18,000 like gay marriages that happened. And it wasn't enough that from now on it was going to be outlawed.
Right.
They were like, now your marriages don't count. And ultimately,
they're null and void. And like,
yeah,
what about the legal nightmare that's gonna fucking be?
Right.
Just think about that. And all those families you're splitting up.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the one with the family values. Ugh.
This is where we start to see like you can win something and you're like, yay, like I won my rights. You get rights. And then 2 years later, if you don't vote right, that shit gets taken away. And that's what's happening to trans people right now. That's what's happening to women in this country. And that's what happened to gay marriage. He was part of this legal organization called the Alliance Defending Freedom. What a fucking gross name. We're defending freedom. You're not.
What about the freedom to marry?
No, they mean freedom for them to enforce their religion on other people. So the whole thing about this organization is it's about expanding Christian religious liberties and practices in like public schools, in the government. They're against like abortion. They oppose, gay rights. Other people who are in this group, it's also like Speaker of the House, current Trump lapdog, Mike Johnson.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett, Mike Pence, Jeff Sessions, chicken shit Senator Jeff Hawley. If you walked into a party and all those people were there, you would turn around and fucking leave.
Like
you
Grandpa
would
Simpson out of the bar.
Yeah, you would. Yep. You'd be like Homer Simpson into the bushes. Whoa. What a fucking drag. But anyway, that organization exists. One time there was a retired teacher who'd been convicted of molesting 5 girls who were his students. And Ken Starr actually went and argued for him for leniency. Like, it'd be more appropriate for him to just get community service.
And what happened?
Because he's no, he went to jail.
Okay, good. Okay. I don't even want to hear his reasonings. I'm just like, fuck no. Yeah. What happened?
No. He also argued on behalf of Hobby Lobby when they wanted to sue because Obamacare was forcing them to allow
their employees get
birth control,
which is medicine, y'all.
It's so fucking stupid.
And it's none of your business.
It's none of your business. So, he stood up there in front of the Supreme Court and argued that, like, having a healthcare plan that includes birth control is against their religion, is against freedom of religion.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. And it's ridiculous. But he won. And now, like, all these companies were like, well, we're not going to cover birth control because it's against our religion too. It had a huge impact on. It's so shitty. It's just, he is part of he's not a part of it anymore.
Yeah, that's the good part.
But like, he laid the groundwork for so much of this, like, Christian freedom of religion, quote unquote, arguments, and who's immune from laws and who isn't. A lot of it goes back to people like Ken Starr, and it goes back to people like Newt Gingrich, who we've also done an episode on. Mm-hmm. And this guy just sucks, man. So let's just bring this shit to an end. So he died September 13th, 2022. He was 76 years old. His wife, like, sent out a message, and she said he was a brilliant, kind, loving man who, despite what his critics said, did not have a mean bone in his body and was a friend to everyone he met.
Except women and gay people. They made him icky. They made him feel icky.
Yes. Yeah, I'm like, girl, be serious. Like,
she's living in her own delusion.
Yeah. I know. That's just what she has to say, right?
Yeah.
But whatever.
Maybe she loved
gone.
him,
But yeah, good for her, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, he's gone, but his legacy lives on in the, continued debates over who's immune from what laws when they're president or president-elect or a former president, who gets to cover birth control in their health plans and who doesn't. Thanks, Ken Starr.
So ridiculous. And it's like, oh, Jesus, it's just making me so angry just thinking about all this. It's so stupid. It is so just today, they postponed they don't know what to do with Trump's conviction because now he's president or president-elect. So now they're like, does he have immunity for what he did? What can we do? Like, can we convict him of, like, what should be his punishment? I mean, should we just throw this case out after all this time? And it's like, why should anybody follow laws?
That's what I'm like.
That's what I say.
If I get arrested for something, could I run for president?
Yeah, and then I'm just going to run for politics. I'll start some kind of a PAC.
Sorry. This is election interference. I'm trying to run for school board. So
it's just, there's no respect for the Constitution. There's no respect for human beings here.
Nope.
Ugh, what a douchebag.
What a douchebag. If we could totally rename this episode, Yep. What a douchebag. So that's our creep, Ken Starr.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you.
All right. Well, do you want to hear about somebody who was not a creep?
Yes, please.
Okay. We're going to talk about Thurgood Marshall today because we need to cleanse our palates, our mental palates here. He was a civil rights lawyer. He used the courts to fight Jim Crow and dismantle segregation in the U.S. He was a towering figure who became the nation's first Black United States Supreme Court Justice. He's best known for arguing the historic 1954 Brown versus Board of Education case, which declared separate but equal is unconstitutional in schools. It's funny that we're talking about this because right now there is a woman in Congress who is trying to have another person not be able to use the bathroom. And and there's all this argument about like, do we make a separate space for this person? And it's like, no, she's a woman. Just let her pee and shit like everybody else does in there.
So fucking ridiculous. Why don't they just make Democrat and Republican bathrooms?
Yeah.
Like,
and just,
honestly, I don't want to pee next to her. I don't want to be next to Nancy Mace. Fuck her.
no, I'm not going to put on my makeup in the mirror next to Nancy Mace or Marjorie Taylor Greene or any of those other assholes. I mean, it's so fucking disgusting. Okay. Anyway, so his early life, he was born in Baltimore and he graduated from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania in 1930. He wanted to go to the University of Maryland Law School, but because of segregation, they rejected him because he was Black. He went on to Howard University and he graduated first in his class in 1933. He was very much into obviously for civil rights. He was African American, and it's that in the 20th century, believe it or not, we had segregation in the law books in America throughout everything. And he basically went through all these different cases 32 times. He went in front of the Supreme Court with civil rights cases, and he won 29 times. He's most famous for Brown versus the Board of Education. This is really important because it's in the field of public education, the doctrine of separate but equal has no place. Separate educational facilities are inherently unequal. That's what Supreme Justice Earl Warren noted. He eventually became President Kennedy hired Marshall to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit in 1961. We were just talking about that. That's actually a really big job, and he was the first African American to hold that. He went on to work for President Lyndon B. Johnson, and in 1967, he became the first Black person on the Supreme Court. He was there for 25 years. He fought for affirmative action for minorities. He was against the death penalty. He was supportive of a woman's right to choose an abortion if that's appropriate for her. He made a huge impact on our society, helping tear down the Jim Crow laws. Was a giant. He was completely, and he was respected. He served until 2 years before he passed away, which is 1991. And he gave a press conference, and it was very funny because they said, so what's the reason? Why are you going? And he's like, look at me. I'm falling apart right in front of you. Like he was like 80 years old. And he was but his legacy is to fight for the little man, to fight for the dignity of all Americans. That was his whole passion for every American, not just for who he was.
More of that, please.
And also was respectful of women and women's spaces, and had a lot of women clerked for him and worked for him, and he never sexually harassed any of them. He managed to keep his dick in his pants. I mean,
the bar is so low. Thanks for not harassing us.
Thank you for not doing that, sir. Just an incredible person, and we're very lucky that he exists in our lifetime. More like this, please, on the Supreme Court. I don't know what Biden has planned for the next 2 months, but it would be nice.
I don't know. The dude's immune, though. He's immune from everything, supposedly. So get cracking, man.
Yeah.
TikTok.
That's our non-creep this week. A brief exploration of Thurgood Marshall. Y'all can look him up for yourselves. He's legendary. He made the 20th century much better and brought the 20th century into the 20th century, considering that he did this in the 50s and people were still like, nah, we're going to segregate everybody. It's Thurgood Marshall. Anyway.
Good choice, my friend.
Thank you. I wanted to stick with a lawyer.
Yeah.
And it's hard to find great lawyers.
Yeah.
I mean, I found some nice ones here and there. I'm like, but do they have a story? Anyway, if you like the sound of our voices, and by golly, why wouldn't you? We also co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out about movies. What did we dork out about last time, Sonia?
Unlawful entry.
Unlawful entry, which was a wild episode. That was like those 90s thrillers that we love. What are we covering next?
We are going to ride some of that Gladiator 2 vibe and talk about Gladiator from 2000. I haven't seen this one in a long time, but I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion.
I can't wait because Sonia's already seen the movie, the Gladiator 2 movie.
Yes, I have.
And Wicked. She's like on all the cool lists.
I'm so cool. I have seen those movies. No, it's going to be really fun to talk about Gladiator. It's been on our list for a while because it's one of those movies that like won a shit ton of awards, and then you watch it now and you're like, really?
This was what caught everybody's imagination at the time. Nobody laughed at this. Everybody like took this seriously.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. So also, I just like saying to people, do you like Gladiator movies?
We did cover Airplane, though, by the way.
Yes, we did.
In our past. That's our show today. If you have ideas, once again, for creeps and or non-creeps, all those places I mentioned at the top of the show, reach out to us. We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift. We got one from Ghostbusters. Our email, once again, is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you want some stickers, send us your address via that email. Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Blue Sky and Threads and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook in our private Facebook group, because that's really the only place I like to go when I'm on Facebook. Where can people find you, my friend?
I'm at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm at brooklynfitchick for Threads and Instagram. On Blue Sky and TikTok, I'm at Brooklyn Margot. Please follow me on YouTube. I'm at my name, Margot Donahue.
Follow her.
Yes, please. All right, everyone. That's the show this week. We'll be back next week talking about Gen X men. Ooh, it's going to be a good one.
Oh, my God. This episode's going to be 5 hours long.
It's happening.
It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that.
In the meantime, everybody, be safe, be kind. Don't be a creep.
Be a creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.